Hi everybody, it's Donna from Donna's Dreamworks. I had a request from someone to show how I made this waterfall section in my mini album, the Hello Konnichiwa mini album. And so I'm going to show you how I made it, but I thought what I would also do is to show you how to figure out what size to cut your paper, depending on what you're putting it in. This mini album happens to be about, let me see, it's 6.5 by 6.5, okay? So I wanted to use approximately 5.5 inches worth of space for my flip album. Now the flip album has 4 pieces, 1, 2, 3, 4, okay? And the basics of a waterfall fold out are that you have 1 piece cut, 3 pieces cut at 1 length, okay, yet to be determined, and then 1 piece cut 1/2 inch smaller than you cut the other 3. These 3 are cut at the same. This one is cut 1/2 inch smaller. Okay, now I determined that I was going to use 5.5 inches. So if I make this bottom piece, I kind of start with the bottom. I make this 4 inches, okay, and I know I'm going to be adding 1/2 inch on every time. So that would be 4, 4.5, 5, 5.5, and that fills up my area. If I had an 8-inch section that I was working with, I just need to make sure that the total here is within the distance that I need, and I always have to add 1.5 inches to my base because I will be adding 3 1/2 inch increments to the base. Okay, it sounds a little complicated, but it's not. I've cut some here just to give you an idea, and I hope I'm explaining it so that I'm not too crazy. I have 3 pieces that I cut, and I've already scored these just for time's sake. I cut those at 5 inches. Okay, so I have 5 inches. I have 5 inches. And I have 5 inches. And the bottom piece is not scored, and that is cut at 4.5 inches. And so if I have this as 4.5 inches, I'm going to add 1.5 inches onto it to account for this fold over, and this fold over. And that means that the total of my waterfall card will be 4 plus 1.5, or 6 inches tall. And so I'd have to make sure I have an area that accommodates a 6-inch span. Okay? So once I have that, what we're going to do is we're going to just butt these up to each other. They don't overlap, and that's the secret of the waterfall. This one is the base. The first one butts right up to that. Okay? So that when it falls down, you have 1/2 inch at the bottom. The next one will butt right up to that, so that when it falls down, you have 1/2 inch at the bottom. The next one butts right up to that, so that when it falls down, you have 1/2 inch at the bottom. And that's all there is to it. It's very simple. The biggest issue is to figure out what size you can make it, because you can make them as skinny or as wide as you like, and you can make them as tall, and you can make them as many flaps as you like. All you have to remember is that whatever your base is, you're going to be adding, and you're going to have the same, but you're going to be adding 1/2 inch for every flap that you flap up. So I've added 4 plus half plus half plus half. I have 6-inch card here. Now, when you put them together, it's a very simple process. It's just a piece of paper. It has to be at least, see, I know I need at least 6 inches, and I have considerably more here, because that's how tall this is going to be. It doesn't have to be the full width. But I'm going to start with this base card. And I'm just going to put a couple of strips of tape on just for the video's sake. But basically, I'm just going to line that up at the bottom. Okay? Now it's kind of hard to see right now where the top of this is. Let me just take a pencil here. Okay, there's the top. And so now I'm going to take this next one. Here's my 1/2-inch flap. I'm going to butt it right up to the first one. So I'll put some tape on this side. And butt this right up to the first one. Okay. There you go. See, now you can see, here's the line. And I've moved up a 1/2 inch at the bottom. And I just do that with the other two. Butt them right up. Okay, and the last one. Get this pencil out of the way. And butt this one right up. Okay, and then all I do is just take a scissors or a paper cutter or a craft knife or whatever you might have handy, and just trim off the top because you don't need the top of it any longer. Okay. So now you have your waterfall. You have 1, 2, 3, and the base. And then when you go to put your pattern paper on, your pattern paper will run all the way from here so that it's actually covering up the seam that you've made here where you've connected the two. Okay, and it will show down here. And what I mentioned on this one is because I had I wanted them all to be the same. So after I got them all put together and the papers put on them, I just took a strip of red cardstock and went along the bottom of each in that half-inch slot that was left so that they'd all look the same. And you can do that or not, depending on what you want to have for your finished look. But the next one, the paper will go all the way from that seam down. The next one, the paper will go all the way from that seam down. And this one, obviously, cover the front. So it's very simple. You have one piece, cut at 4, or this happens to be cut at 4 1/2. One piece cut at 4 1/2. This piece was cut, I'm sorry, back up. One piece was cut at 4 1/2. This piece was cut at 5 and scored at a 1/2 inch, making this part 4 1/2. This part was cut at 5 and scored at a 1/2 inch to make this part 4 1/2. And this part one was cut at 5, scored at a 1/2 inch to make it 4 1/2. So they're all the same once they are put together. Okay? 4, it all makes 4 1/2, 5, 5 1/2, 6 inches wide. I hope I didn't confuse people more than they were already, but it's really not that difficult. Just remember to measure. Keep your base card one size, add a 1/2 inch to the others, and add 1.5 inches to the total measurement so you'll know how long you have for your finished product. Okay? Hope that helped. If it didn't, please leave a comment, ask the question, and I'll get back to you. Thank you. Have a great day and play nice.